You do get an idea from that little video, and of course there's much more, about the company we would keep if we became a member of the OWHC, and the opportunities that lie buried in those relationships. And I would ask us to think, and we'll talk about this some more, that someday Philadelphia, being the first World Heritage City in the United States, will not be the only one in the United States. Why wouldn't Philadelphia think enough of itself and its ability to lead to say, let's go, America, we can do this? And why shouldn't the Northern American Regional organization of the OWHC be centered right here in Philadelphia? Why not? All right. Now, when we go out and speak about this to folks whose focus is largely about the return on investment, and we have been out there asking for money, and we will be asking others for money too, and many of you have already contributed, for which we thank you. Thank you deeply. But we get the question, so what's the return on the investment? What is the famous ROI? Well, I think everybody recognizes that eConsult Solutions, headed by Steve Mullin, is one of the organizations that can best speak to that sort of thing. And happily, Steve has been recruited to do just that. And let's welcome Steve Mullin to the podium.
It's 12.7%. Here, 12.75. Hey everybody, good to see. As I've been looking in the crowd here, seeing people I've known for a while and known who have been looking at sort of the international place and prominence of Philadelphia for at least my 25 years here, looking at in that world. And it's great to see new faces too, who are new to me anyway, here that are joining in the cause here. So we, and I'll also note too, echoing Andrew's stories, I'm on a lot of boards and I spent a lot of time with David, and I've heard those stories there, but each time it's a cool story which juices me up again too in the value of our city. I will note, glad to see that the slides are back. Those of you who know me know that I can, a picture for me is worth 25,000 words, and every once in a while some of those words have something to do with a picture. So, I'm going to replace that with just, I hope, yes, 5 slides. We did hear the qualitative benefits here that I hope is, for anyone in this room and anyone around telling the story, are not counterintuitive. There are pluses associated with this, and I do believe that ultimately these pluses all end up more attractive city, greater business opportunities, and more business location here. But our world here for our, when we were looking at this over the last couple of years, and I'll note too, Steve Ray and Josh, the Economy League, over the last couple of years, how do you take a whole bunch of what I say in here, anecdotal or qualitative measures, to come up with something where you can give a number that is both reasonable and supported, I guess, would be something to take a look at here. I also tend to think that when we are looking at benefits and what's the return on investment, one question is, what is the investment? What's the cost associated with this? And what people have noted here is the cost. I find it pretty unique in all the public policy-esque type worlds that I've been involved in over the past 30 some odd years, that the cost associated with this is really not very much. It's obviously time spent and stuff like that, but getting this designation is not something where the city would have to put in $500 million of capital or other things like this, or divert interests from other, divert resources and interests and other goals that we're after. It's very, very low cost investment associated with this. And that's because, as you've heard, the story isn't really what we're doing now. The story is what we've done in the past and our whole history here. So we're really telling that story. We do think, when all is said and done, that the primary source of benefit, direct benefit, at least in the short to medium run, will be, we could have business location and other types of things here, but it mainly be via tourism. And that first sentence on that slide ought to talking to the right crowd here on this. Tourism is a significant contributor to the local and state economy. A couple of things when we looked at how do we size this or how might we forecast the impact. One is, it's our assumption here that there's no significant impact on domestic tourism. Now some people, there's a nuance there, but when we're adding things up, people in the United States come here, why? We have Liberty Bell, it's a historic. People in the United States already sort of picture Philadelphia as a historic part of our historic place in our country. So we're already doing a great job there over the years, and now with Merrill and Jack and all others involved in the tourism world, telling that story, and Fritz too, I see over there here. So our story would be the potential impact on foreign tourism. And our assumption here is that the title is more significant to international than domestic visitors, and the branding effect, which encourages additional visitors. We're looking at the potential for some additional international visitors, which as people in the tourism industry know, one, spend more dough here when they're here, stay longer, and tell our story to a wider bunch of people. It doesn't mean that locals and regional visitors and domestic visitors aren't important here. So what we do is we look at what's the potential for the increase in foreign visitation. Clear positive impact, as I mentioned here, with virtually no cost associated with the designation. Here, our tangible impact, increased visitation, when relatively small increases in the visitor count attributable to this designation could lead to significant economic and fiscal benefits to the city. Based on anecdotal, I really should have put qualitative there. Anecdotal sounds a little less than qualitative, but based on a lot of studies around that are not big data sources that we can just crunch numbers here. We took a look there and estimated, we think it's reasonable to assume that this designation could increase our foreign visitation by 10 to 15%, or based on the last few years, we have 600 to 800,000 international visitors. Could mean 60 to 100,000 more international visitors, including sort of two components. One, existing foreign visitors who would add to the United States, who would add Philadelphia to their itinerary, and also new foreign visitors who would decide to travel to Philadelphia and the United States for the first time because we show up on different lists and maps and in different conversation here. If that were the case, and we think it is, would represent $50 to $85 million in direct spending. And some of you say, like, Steve, where's your multiplier? Because that's what we do at eConsult Solutions here. With a multiplier of approximately 2, we're talking potential for over $100 million more pumped into the local economy through the tourism sector here. But this just doesn't happen. John doesn't come back with his team in November with the designation trophy, parade up Broad Street, and boom, everything changes. In this, we are assuming that part of the effort here, and in fact the main purpose of the effort here, is not only get the designation, but also look at ways to maximize the value of that. Ultimately, the story will be, this is one of the things that we sell Philadelphia. We as individuals sell to ourselves. We as individuals sell to people in the rest of the country. So we said, some type of impact there. But we as individuals and organizations, institutions sell to the rest of the world. And in that, here are recommendations to increase the potential impact is to think strategically about how it can be used as a tool in Philadelphia's overall branding strategy and how it fits in larger effort to compete more efficiently for tourism relation to the Convention and Visitors Bureau and Visit Philly and all of the international connections here in Philadelphia, in the Philadelphia region. That is essentially exactly what this organization is meant to do, and to take that here. So I do want to note one thing here. We do also believe the things that you heard David, Andrew, John, and others, Lisbeth, all mention here: enhanced visibility and prestige, educational opportunities for ourselves. Some of you know me, know that I'm a big crank about Philadelphians being down on Philadelphia and our own worst enemies. So here, there are good reasons why we should be bellying up to the bar and saying good stuff about our city. I know that there are nuanced individual nuanced arguments against this World Heritage city floating around out there, but I think they're very small, and in the economic terms, I think they do not really impose costs on our local economy. Stimulus for civic pride and increased level of partnership are the types of things that we can get from this designation. So over $100 million a year additional tourism and money's being pumped through the economy is a nice thing to have happen. I consider that to be the smallest piece of the value associated with this effort. John?
Thank you.